What's the easiest way to steal $600 million without getting caught? The answer would be ensuring that a hurricane blows away all evidence. Today, we are going to explain a 2018 movie titled The Hurricane Heist. Beware of spoilers. The movie opens with a man driving his sons, Breeze and Will, away from an incoming hurricane. The two boys are at loggerheads, and the man tries to keep them calm. He is distracted and doesn't see a tree about to fall in front of them on time. He swerves the van just in time to avoid the tree, but the vehicle gets stuck in the sand. To keep his sons safe, the man takes them into a nearby isolated house before going out to move his car. The hurricane is now fast approaching and begins to lift the house where the man left his sons. He tries to run to them but is crushed by a rolling tank lifted out of place by the strong wind. Now, the boys are exposed to the elements and something else in the storm. The movie then shifts to the National Weather Service in Maryland 25 years later, and we see Niles and his team monitoring the approaching Hurricane Tammy in Alabama. Now, we see Will from the first scene, all grown and working with the Weather Service. Niles calls Will to update him on the meteorological details of the storm. The entire Gulfport town is being evacuated, and the sheriff briefs his men about the previous Hurricane Andrew and further ensures that everyone leaves town. There is a traffic jam on the road out of town because Casey and Connor, employees of the Treasury Department, are blocking the way with trucks. They get into a brief conversation, and Connor reveals there is so much about him Casey doesn't know. We'll find out. Casey takes over the wheels and recklessly drives the trucks away from the road, destroying someone's farm in the process. Why Casey? In other parts of town, Jackie and Xander install a network mast while Clement confirms the reception. I wonder if they need that to evacuate the area. Will sends out his drones and discovers that the storm will be worse than they estimated. He tries to convince Niles to send National Guards to the town to no avail. Casey and Connor are now back at the Treasury to realize that the shredder has been down while Casey is away. As a result, they've been stockpiling old money and storing them in the vault which only Casey's biometrics can open. Morneau brings in two software engineers, Sasha and Frears, to work on the faulty system, unbeknownst to him that they are the masterminds behind the system's failure. Unfortunately, he further motivates the thieving hackers by telling them that having hundreds of millions sitting in the building during a hurricane isn't a good idea. Casey approaches the group and tries to joke around with Morneau, but the latter prefers to keep things professional. Casey calls Morris from the headquarters to report her situation, and he reminds her that the money yet to be shredded is her responsibility. This makes Casey request authorization to change the vault code because hurricanes can give people bad ideas. Well, looks like some people have already hatched the idea. Will drives out of town and tries to warn his brother, Breeze, to leave town, but the number goes to voicemail. Of course, the phone lines are down. This makes Will decide to go back for his brother. Back at the Treasury, Casey goes to Morneau's office just before the power goes out, and they discover that the backup generator is faulty. Casey hides the device for the vault's code and shredded money before leaving for the repairman's workshop. Now will be a good time to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more recaps. Will gets to Breeze's workshop to find him sleeping in his pajamas. He screams to startle his older brother from sleep and then convinces him to leave town because of the incoming hurricane. Breeze ignores his brother and proceeds to make himself a breakfast of whiskey and coffee before arguing that he can survive the hurricane as they did 25 years ago. He even returns the cash and airplane tickets Will sent him some time ago. Breeze eventually agrees to go with his brother on the condition that Will helps him board up the windows. Back at the Treasury, a white van approaches the gate, and the security agents refuse them entrance. But the gate opens on its own, and the people in the vehicle take down the agents to make their way into the building. Security agents approach Connor for instructions on what to do about the invasion, but he shoots them down. Snitch. The team of robbers eventually blows up the doors and gets into the building to meet Connor. In the building, Morneau locks some doors and assures the hackers that they are safe in the building because it is bulletproof. Connor knocks on Morneau's door, revealing his true identity. Morneau doesn't flinch because the door is bulletproof, but the hackers override the system and open the door, revealing who they really are. They also reveal that they hacked the shredder a week ago to ensure they had a pile of cash to steal. Connor tries to convince Morneau to cooperate with them since it's government money, and so far, they haven't killed a single person. But the loyal employee isn't having it. Connor then instructs the hackers to break into the vault's security system. Meanwhile, Casey arrives at the repairman's who happens to be Breeze. She introduces herself and then carts Breeze away, leaving Will to board up the windows alone. But Breeze sure cares about his little brother. Back at the Treasury, they now try to open the vault only to discover that the code was recently changed. Since Connor works at the Treasury, he knows Casey is in charge of the code and threatens Morneau for her whereabouts. Casey and Breeze arrive at the Treasury and suspect something is amiss. Casey checks out the perimeter while Breeze is in the car, but they quickly drive away before Casey is captured. Unfortunately, Sasha, the hacker, remotely puts up some barricades, and the car crashes into them. Casey runs away, but they capture Breeze to work on the generator since they'll need power to open the vault. Apparently, the robbers shot the security guards with tranquilizers and not real bullets. Clement chases Casey down the street, but Will drives by and picks her up. Where the heck is his brother, Casey? Will wants to drive back to get his brother, but Casey convinces him that they should get the help of the police since the robbers need Breeze and won't kill him until she shows up. They go to the police department amidst the rain to report the robbery. Sadly, the police deputy, Sheriff Dixon, is also in on the robbery. More than enough funds to cover his dream retirement, he announces. Dixon holds Casey and Will at gunpoint and then calls the rest of the team to inform them of his new hostages wrapped up in red ribbon. But while he is on the call, Casey reaches for her gun, and they overpower the sheriff to get away from the station. Xander, Clement's brother, picks up the sheriff, and they tail down Will's van with gunshots. But Will stops abruptly and anchors the truck's spikes into the ground, causing the sheriff's car to crash into them. Powerful van. By the way, it must be made of Lonstalate. Casey goes to the unconscious men to get their guns before they drive away from the scene. At the building, Breeze is trying to pick the lock to a door but pretends to be drunk when Connor comes down to the powerhouse. Breeze tries to negotiate, but not with Connor. In the meteorology van, Casey figures out that the hackers were working even when the lines were down, and they could only do so if they had installed a network before the robbery. Luckily, Will's van can track active network masts, and they locate it. By now, the storm is already underway, and darkness is gradually engulfing the town. Will anchors himself to the van and then painstakingly climbs against the wind to the top of the mast. A piece of metal hits the structure and almost knocks Will to his death. Just then, Xander and the sheriff pass by them. Will tries to tell Casey to dim the lights, but the wind is so strong that she increases the light's intensity and even flashes them brightly. They eventually catch the sheriff's attention. As the villains approach, Casey shoots at them, and Jackie crashes into an explosive when she is shot. As soon as Will clamps a hook on the mast, Casey pulls it with the van. Geez, she should have waited for him to get down first. While Casey struggles to bring down the mast, the hackers have almost completed the code to the vault, but she eventually pulls it down when it's just one more code left. Clement gets furious and starts to throw his fists at Morneau. The scene shifts to the road, and Will fights off Connor and his men with tire rim covers while Casey detaches the rope from the van. Will kills Xander, making Connor and Dixon scamper to safety. They eventually unhook the van and drive away. At the treasury, Breeze finally unlocks the door and makes his way to the security agents, while Sasha and Fears try to manually figure out the last numbers. Instead of releasing the agents first, for some reasons we may never know, Breeze decides to brief the agents on the security situation first. When he starts to cut through the wire, Fears catches him and turns on the electricity supply. On the other hand, Casey and Will stop at the mall to relieve themselves, and Will tries to convince Casey to open the vault so that his brother could be released, but she declines. Connor walks into the treasury building to find Clement making do with some cash around the shredder. Connor confirms that Will killed his brother, stirring up rage in the already enraged man. Just then, Dixon comes in the company of other officers. He wants to take over the heist and ultimately keep the money to himself, but Connor cuts him off before he finishes. Connor then proposes to give $20 million to each officer, and they put down their weapons in agreement. Casey calls Connor to agree to turn herself in exchange for Breeze and Morneau, but not before confirming that both men are still alive. They cook up something while Connor's men arrive at the mall. When Will sees his brother, he tries to delay the exchange so that the atmospheric pressure in the mall adjusts to his plan. As soon as it does, Casey shoots the roof open, causing a heavy gust of wind to sweep through the mall, carrying everybody and everything in its path, except Breeze, who has obviously learned to survive a hurricane, and Casey and Will, who tied themselves to an anchor in the mall. Casey and Will make it to Breeze's shop. They take off their harnesses and savor some of Will's packed sandwiches, such a great idea during a killer hurricane. Casey suggests they make a bomb and drive it into the treasury to kill the thieves. As they load the fertilizers from the plant section, Connor's men approach them at the same time. A tsunami approaches the town. Casey sees the water approaching and ducks for safety, but the men aren't so lucky. Casey and Will eventually find a way to stay above the water, but Casey floats straight to Connor, who takes her back to the treasury while Breeze rescues Will in a boat. Casey tries to negotiate Morneau's freedom, but Connor has already had enough. He threatens to shred Morneau, much to everyone's horror, including Frears and Sasha. Casey gives in and digs out the device from where it has been all the while. They open the vault, and Connor shoots Morneau as payback for Xander and Jackie. Will and Breeze return to Breeze's place, and the older brother reveals his collection of guns. They can also see the eye of the storm approaching. In the final scene, 3 trucks drive out of the treasury, Connor in front, Deputy Michaels, Clement, and Casey next, while Sasha and Frears drive behind. The two brothers watch them from a nearby rooftop and then drive through a shortcut and also make up for all those years of strife before catching up with the trucks. Sasha and Frears are too busy doing stupid things to notice Will and Breeze make their way to their truck. Breeze narrowly misses the truck, but they eventually overpower the lovers to take control of it. Quite a flimsy takeover there. Will jumps onto Clement's truck as the latter gets in a fight with Casey. The fight distracts Michaels and also makes it hard for Wills. But Casey shoots the deputy, giving Wills a chance to get in and save the truck from crashing into large storage blocks. They get back on the road, and Connor catches a glimpse of Breeze in the truck behind. He slows down to shoot as soon as Breeze approaches, but Breeze shoots him in the arm. The brothers then slow the villain down by hitting his truck on both sides. They also block him from getting ahead of them, and the storm eventually swallows his money and sends back the trailer to finish him off. My question is, did they unwrap $600 million cash before loading them in the trucks? The storm is very close now, and Breeze's truck is breaking down. He jumps onto Will's truck and tries to save the hackers to no avail. The trio make it out of the storm with $200 whooping million. But no one happens to know where all that rain we saw before went, because this place is as dry as a bone. Don't forget to hit that subscription button.